So they didn't, calling people, they were hunter-gatherers, calling them First Nations is a misnomer, is it not? They were not nations in the same sense that our predecessors, we would have had ancestors at some stage who were probably hunter-gatherers in Europe and Asia. There were probably hunter-gatherers all around the world, but we don't look back to those times and imagine that they were nations. They were not nations, they were hunter-gatherers. Yeah. And they had a society which might not be now considered attractive. We would not want to go back. In fact, you make the point in chapter 3, traditional culture is the problem, not the solution. And you point to some of the instances you've already talked about traditional culture, particularly in relation to the treatment of women, which shocked the British when they came here, did it not?
It certainly did, and they recorded it, and they recorded the fact that Aboriginal husbands or their wives had no problem about if they disagreed with something a wife was saying or doing, they would hit them over the head with a club, and in many cases fracture the skull of the wife who dissented. Barangaroo, who was the wife of, or one of the wives of Bennelong, was recorded as being laid low by her husband with a club in front of Arthur Phillip, it was not something the Aborigines did behind closed doors. It was something that they felt they had the absolute right to do in public. It's not as bad as the British found in India. I mean, what you said before about the British accepting traditional Indian, and that is both Hindu and Muslim laws in India when the British took over. But they did insist that suti, the practice in Hindu society of Aboriginal women, Hindu widows of husbands who had recently died had to die on the funeral pyre of their husband. That's something that the British would not have any part with, and and they insisted on that. But the rest of it, in laws of inheritance, marital acceptance, fathers could give their daughters away. They accepted all of that, but they certainly drew a line on the violence. And in New South Wales, the same thing happened, although it was much harder to stop the sort of spontaneous beating that a husband would be seen to do with an Aboriginal wife. It was a bit harder to stop, and no laws would prevent it, but they tried.